nombre es Gabriel Gallegos. Saludos a todos aquellos seguidores de Hacktivac Ministries, en especial a nuestra comunidad latina. El día de hoy queremos compartir con ustedes uno de los artículos más impresionantes que podemos tener en nuestra tienda virtual. Te invitamos a que te quedes y a conocer más del modelo tridimensional del templo. Les presento el nuevo modelo del templo. Una de las cosas adicionales que se han agregado en esta impresión es esta base donde está de una manera inclinada de 45 grados. ¿Para qué? Para que pueda enseñarse mejor a nuestra audiencia. O si usted, al igual que a mí, le gusta ponerlo de la manera tradicional y ponerlo en una superficie plana, pues también puedo hacerlo. De esta manera usted lo puede poner en su oficina o en su lugar de estudio o en su lugar de reunión. ¿Para qué? Para que la gente pueda admirar la gran maravilla de lo que se ha podido llegar a hacer. Ahora les voy a invitar a que me sigan acompañando para mirar las siguientes adiciones que se le han agregado a este nuevo modelo. Uno de los nuevos aspectos de este nuevo modelo tridimensional son los colores que se han añadido, como el color oro, el color blanco, un café y un café un poquito más claro. Podemos mirar el color blanco en los 15 escalones que están en el atrio de las mujeres, como también en las 4 lámparas. Podemos mirar el color blanco en el misbeaj, en el altar, como también en los 2 escalones que están entre el ulam y el altar. Podemos encontrar este color blanco también en estos pequeños mikvaot o también baños de inmersión que se han añadido. También podemos apreciar en el misbeaj, el altar, se agregaron a color las 3 fogatas y en el centro podemos encontrar de color café más claro las cenizas del altar. Otro de los buenos beneficios de este modelo es de que los edificios adicionales, el techo puede ser removido. En el edificio sureste podemos mirar cómo el área donde el Sanedrín se reunía para hacer sus juicios, y también se ha agregado un color azul en donde está el lavacro, para así poder distinguir las diferentes áreas. Les agradecemos mucho a cada uno de ustedes, especialmente a la comunidad latina, por estarnos acompañando. Pueden ir a Jerusalem Temple Studies y buscar la opción tienda o store en inglés y luego buscar modelos del templo y ahí podrán obtener el suyo. Bendiciones y gracias por su apoyo. Shalom. Gabriel Gallegos. Saludos a todos aquellos seguidores de Hacktivac Ministries, en especial a nuestra comunidad latina. El día de hoy queremos compartir con ustedes uno de los artículos más impresionantes que podemos tener en nuestra tienda virtual. Te invitamos a que te quedes y a conocer más del modelo tridimensional del templo. Les presento el nuevo modelo del templo. Una de las cosas adicionales que se han agregado en esta impresión es esta base donde está de una manera inclinada a 45 grados. ¿Para qué? Para que pueda enseñarse mejor a nuestra audiencia. O si usted, al igual que a mí, le gusta ponerlo de la manera tradicional y ponerlo en una superficie plana, pues también puedo hacerlo. De esta manera usted lo puede poner en su oficina o en su lugar de estudio o en su lugar de reunión. ¿Para qué? Para que la gente pueda admirar la gran maravilla de lo que se ha podido llegar a hacer. Ahora les voy a invitar a que me sigan acompañando para mirar las siguientes adiciones que se le han agregado a este nuevo modelo. Uno de los nuevos aspectos de este nuevo modelo tridimensional son los colores que se han añadido, como el color oro, el color blanco, un café y un café un poquito más claro. Podemos mirar el color blanco en los 15 escalones que están en el atrio de las mujeres, como también en las 4 lámparas. Podemos mirar el color blanco en el misbeach, en el altar, como también en los 2 escalones que están entre el ulam y el altar. Podemos encontrar este color blanco también en estos pequeños mikvaot o también baños de inmersión que se han añadido. También podemos apreciar en el misbeach, el altar, se agregaron a color las 3 fogatas y en el centro podemos encontrar de color café más claro las cenizas del altar. Otro de los buenos beneficios de este modelo es de que los edificios adicionales, el techo puede ser removido. En el edificio sureste podemos mirar cómo el área donde el Sanedrín se reunía para hacer sus juicios, y también se ha agregado un color azul en donde está el lavacro para así poder distinguir las diferentes áreas. Les agradecemos mucho a cada uno de ustedes, especialmente a la comunidad latina, por estarnos acompañando. Pueden ir a Jerusalem Temple Studies y buscar la opción tienda o store en inglés y luego buscar modelos del templo, y ahí podrán obtener el suyo. Bendiciones y gracias por su apoyo. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone. I've got a few announcements before we start, and let me start with the people to pray for. First off, I'm going to ask that you pray for Grayson Jeffries. Grayson had a MR scan last week, and he hasn't gotten the results yet. He's going to call me when he gets his results. But they started a chemotherapy on him today. And I talked to him. Actually, I didn't realize they were starting the chemotherapy. I called to see if he got his results for the MRI, and his mother answered, and he was just coming out. They had put him to sleep for a procedure they had to do, and he was just waking up. But I asked him if he had any special request for us to pass on to people to pray for. And he said that he did, that the chemotherapy makes him violently ill, nauseous, and that everyone would pray that he would not get sick that way. So I'll try to keep you posted on what they find with the MRI. They had something that was suspicious, and so that's what they were going in looking for, to see what that was, to see if the cancer had spread. So please be praying for him. And his mother's name is Lisa, as well as his wife. And so if you pray the Amidah, the prayer for healing, you'll say, son of Grayson, son of Lisa, okay, as you go through. All right, so the second is that Justin Hotz. Now, I've been asking for prayer for Justin for quite a while. As many of you know, that his sister died in May last year. His mother died in January. His father died 2 weeks ago. And Justin himself is sick. And please be praying for him. He's going through a very hard time. And he needs to be strengthened. Okay. And so, with that being said, we'll talk about tonight. Okay. So, we're going to be talking about the journey from Mount Sinai. Not from Mount Sinai, to Mount Sinai from the sea. Last week we went to the first part. Tonight we'll finish it. But what I want to look at is how it applied back then, the miracles that God was doing, and the failures that Israel was experiencing, and all of these little variables. Now, for me, I can take that and apply it to my own life. Okay. I've had where God's done miracles for me. And then just almost within a matter of days, sometimes even hours, that it's like the bottom falls out. And I find that I'm going, oh goodness, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this? Whatever. And but there's a parallel that we're able to apply to our lives. But tonight we're going to center more on what was back historically at that time. If you ask ChatGPT, which I did, they will say it is a tradition. I don't believe it's a tradition. I think it's actually a biblical fact. Okay. And of how God provided the water for the people. And of course, last week we talked about him providing the quail and the manna, which they were able to cook with. Okay, he provided the food and he provided the water. The attacks that they have, like against the Amalekites, that came against them. What led to that attack? And what was the strategy? How did they beat that attack? We talked about last week. And we have 3 days after the sea event where God split the sea and he led the people through. And there's a little interesting part there that we see in Psalm 136. And I want to go to Psalm 136. And it is not going to say in the scripture that exactly what I'm going to say. Okay. But many of the commentators did say this. Okay. Give me a second to get Psalm 136. And Psalm 136, by the way, is called the Great Hallel. And you'll know it because it ends in Kile Lam Hasdo. His mercy endures forever and ever. Okay. And here it says, let me see. I want to check another translation here. There's a reason that I am going to this psalm to begin with. All right. It basically says that he made paths through the sea. And you know what? I don't see it here. It says he split the sea asunder. And so I'm guessing I have in verse 13, it says, to him who divided the sea of Suf asunder, for steadfast love endures forever, and made Israel pass through the midst of it. Okay, so that simply means he divided it in two. But the passage I'm looking for, and I'm not going to spend the time looking for it, I'll tell you, we can find it later. But it basically states that God made paths through the sea. Now, what the commentators, different commentators through the centuries, said that God made 12 different paths through the sea, and that each of the tribes they went through the sea on a path of their own. Now, the reason I want to bring that up is because it's going to tie into what we're going to talk to tonight. The third application, first application is the historical, the Exodus out of Egypt, the Yetziat Mitzrayim, which means the Exodus out of Egypt. The personal, how it applies to us in our walk with God on a daily basis, but then we have that greater application, which it parallels the Messianic redemption. Okay. And so I want to read something to you out of the book of Ezekiel. And I want to mention as we're turning to it, it's going to be in chapter 37. And actually, I want to go to a better one than that. All right, chapter 47. If as we're going along, if you like what you're hearing, please hit the like button. That helps us in moving and share. If you're on YouTube, if you would subscribe, and on Facebook, certainly follow us. Okay. So in Ezekiel chapter 47, it says, then he brought me back to the door of the temple. Okay. Now it's going to be key. And there was water flowing from under the threshold of the temple toward the east, for the front of the temple faced east. The water was flowing from under the right side of the temple, south of the altar. He brought me out by the way of the north gate and led me around by the outside on the outside to the outer gateway that faces east, and there was water. running out of the right side. Okay, so that's going to be on your south side, on the right side. Okay, so the right is not you facing the temple building, it's rather from God's throne. That's would be his right side. Okay, and then when the man went out of the east with the line in his hand, he measured 1,000 cubits, and he brought me through the waters. The water came up to my ankles. Again, he measured 1,000 and brought me through the waters. The water came up to my knees. Again, he measured 1,000 and brought me through the water. It came up to my waist. Again, he measured 1,000, and it was a river that I could not cross, for the water was too deep, water in which one must swim, a river that could not be crossed. He said to me, Son of man, have you seen this? Then he brought me and returned me to the bank of the river. When I returned, there along the bank of the river were very many trees on one side and the other. Then he said to me, This water flows toward the eastern region, goes down into the valley, and enters the sea. When it reaches the sea, its waters are healed. And now it's talking about the Dead Sea. And it shall be that every living thing that moves, wherever the river goes, will live. There will be a very great multitude of fish because these waters go there, and they will be healed, and everything will live wherever the river goes. It shall be that fishermen will stand by from En-Gedi to Ain Eglaim. There will be places for spreading their nets. Their fish will be on the same kinds, will be of the same kinds as the fish of the great sea. Exceedingly many, but its swamps and marshes will not be healed. So I want to get an atlas. Okay, let me find one that'll work for us, and we'll try this. All right. So this is the Reader's Digest atlas. It's a fair atlas, but hopefully. All right. Let me find a good map, and hopefully I can. All right. All right. I want to use my projector and get it pulled up here. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you several pictures in a moment. Okay. So first off, let's look at a map. And we have a map right here. And so you have Jerusalem is right here. Oh, wait, just a moment. Jerusalem is right here. Okay. And here's your Dead Sea. You see that Jerusalem is just a little bit northeast of the northern end of the Dead Sea. Okay. Now, approximately right here is going to be Qumran. And down from Qumran, right about here, there is En-Gedi. Okay. Now this is what it looks like at Qumran. And En-Gedi is green, okay? But it's only green in the valley coming down to it. I mean, we're talking about some really hot desert region, very, very desert. And at En-Gedi, let's see if I have a picture of En-Gedi. This is the wilderness of Judea. This is Wadi Kelt going to Jerusalem. Here, we have a map here. Here is here's En-Gedi down here, right here. And see, this right in just in this little valley, there's a little valley. Let me turn it. Okay. Let me try to get it here. Okay. Right in this little valley, it's green, but all around it. And when you go to En-Gedi, I've been to En-Gedi, I don't know, 30 or 40 times. When you go to En-Gedi, um, there's beautiful waterfalls, there's water coming down, and so there's lush vegetation right in there. But there are ibex goats, in Hebrew, the yalim, all over the place. I mean, it's just fantastic to go there. Now, in the passage here, it says, it shall be that fishermen will stand by it from En-Gedi, okay? So the Dead Sea is alive. But look at what it says. To Ain Eglaim, there will be places for spreading their nets. Their fish will be of the same kinds as the fish of the Great Sea. That's the Mediterranean. Exceedingly many, but its swamps and marshes will not be healed. Oh, the swamps and marshes are in the northern section. That's going to be north of En-Gedi, up in that area around where Qumran, maybe even a little bit north of that, and they will be given over to salt along the bank of the river. On this side and that will grow all kinds of trees used for food. The leaves will not wither, their fruit will not fail. They will bear fruit every month because their water flows from the temple, from the sanctuary. Their fruit will be for food and their leaves for medicine. Wow, that's pretty amazing. And it's really amazing when you see that this is going to be spoken of in the book of Zechariah. It's spoken of in the book of Revelation. It's spoken of numbers and numbers of places. But tonight we'll see that they had a similar type experience in the journey from the sea to Mount Sinai, and while they were at Kadesh Barnea. Okay, and so we're going to get into it. Now, this is a teaching I did about 2 years ago, and I really liked it. It's going to be a little bit different tonight because I'm going to suggest that what happened in the wilderness is a parallel to what will happen with the water coming out of the temple. Okay. And that God sustained their life in a region that man cannot survive. He sustained their life miraculously. Not only did he provide the mind, the bread and the quail, the meat that came, and last week we saw that they came at exactly the same time that the language matches the daily service in the temple from Numbers 28. That the morning offering is haboker. Okay, boker means you say good morning to someone. Boker tov, good morning, and but the afternoon. The afternoon, that's where the mime came. Excuse me, the quail came. The afternoon was Bain Ha Erevim. That is the same exact times that we're told in Numbers 28 for the daily Tamid, which is a parallel back to the temple. Okay. And so let me get this ready here, and we'll go into this. And I would like to remind you that we're going to have questions and answer at the end of this. So if you have comments or you have questions that you'd like to ask, please do. Okay, so we have the rock that followed Israel in the wilderness. Now, the amazing part of this is that it's not taught in Christianity. You hear about the mine, the people went out and gathered the mine. Okay, mine in Hebrew means what? Okay, and so people cried out, "What is it? What is it?" And if you remember, it was like when the dew rose from the ground and that the mine was laying there, and they could take it, they could bake it, they could make cakes with it. It was like a flower sent from heaven. Okay, and so again, they had the meat, they had the quail, and but you cannot live in that region without water. And so we have in the journey, we have 3 days later, we have the place Elim that it says the water was bitter. And God told Moses to put a tree into the water, and it sweetened it. Okay. And then the next paragraph goes into the people started complaining because there was no water, and God provided water for them. And then we go forward, and that's where we come to 1 month later, and they're complaining. They were ready to stone Moshe several times on the journey, and he's getting blamed for everything. Why'd you bring us out here? Uh, we had plenty of water, we had plenty of food back in Egypt. Of course, we were slaves. Okay. Of course, our lives meant nothing, and uh, and so forth. And so God repeatedly brings the water to them, and then we get to Rephidim. They're camped at Rephidim. It's a short journey from there to Mount Sinai. And last week we talked about Rephidim, comes from the word Rapha. And Rapha means, let me stop sharing for a moment. Rapha means to be lax. The people became lax in their observance. Now, this is again drawing from the commentators, from Rashi, from Ibn Ezra, from different commentators, said that the people had grown lax, which they were murmuring, they were complaining, there is no water. And at that point, God instructs him, and we're going to read this. God instructs Moshe to go forward to Mount Sinai with the elders and stand upon the rock. Okay. Now, generally people will say, oh, the rock is Mount Sinai. I don't believe that. I believe it was a rock that was at Mount Sinai, and a specific rock. And but we'll look at the passages. At any rate, the water flowed from that location down to the people where they were. That reminds me of the water flowing out of the temple. And wherever it goes, it brings life and it brings healing. Okay, and so, but we have a problem because the Amalekites, okay, so the Amalekites, and let me see if I can show you. I'm not sure this map will have it. Um, all right. Don't know if I can do it where you can see it well enough, but the Amalekites are going to be descended from Esau, okay, or Esau. And they live in the land of Edom. And according to Josephus, where they lived was specifically, let's see if I can get this opened, and right here. right here, Petra. And so where the people are crossing is going to be north of here, okay? So that the people are crossing here, coming across. Let me wait. You can't see. All right, they're coming across. They came. They are. Oh, wait, I'm telling you wrong. I'm telling you wrong. They are crossing here. So the Amalekites apparently, here's where they are, came down and met Israel somewhere in this neighborhood, Mount Sinai. Wait, here we go. All right. So here is where Petra is. This is the Gulf of Aqaba. Okay, this is Ezen Geber. This is our Geber. This is uh, I can't think of the name of the Jordanian town that there. It's Aqaba right here on the Jordanian side. But they are somewhere in this area. If you can see my hand, let's see, Mount Sinai would be like here. Okay. And so I wish I had a map that, will make it real plain. But they came and they attacked. Now, I personally believe that they are going to be called the Hyksos. That they go, once they attack Israel, they take advantage of the situation that Pharaoh and his army were destroyed in less than 2 months before, and they march into Egypt and take advantage of the situation, and they have a a kingdom that they establish. Okay, now, but the Amalki were a fierce people, and the Joshua takes the men, he goes out to fight against them. Moses climbs up on a rock, not the same rock that was over at Mount Sinai, but a different rock. He climbs up on a rock and he lifts up his arms. And we all think, well, that means he's praising God. And I would agree, he's praising God. But the word Rapha also means to have your arms down. Okay. So the arms down, the people had departed from God. They're not walking. Why were they deported from God? Because they were complaining. They were complaining. They were ready to stone Moshe because they had no water. And so you can see the hand of God, you can see the miracles of God, and yet when you get hit by problems, you forget that. You forget that. And you instead of praising God, and lifting your hands, praising God, looking to God for your deliverance, people are crying and complaining and wanting to have all these emotions that certainly are not of God. And so we had this story of God bringing the water to the people where they were. They fight the Amalekites. As long as the hands of Moshe are lifted up, they prevail. Okay. All right. So we're going to go into the slides, and I've got a few slides that I've added to it. All right. So we actually have a reference to this out of the New Testament. And from 1 Corinthians 10, it's going to be verse 4. These are the first three verses. Moreover, brethren, I do not want you to be unaware that all our fathers were under the clouds of glory. Okay. All passed through the sea. Okay. It's definitely talking about the first redemption, the Exodus out of Egypt. All were immersed into Moshe in the cloud and in the sea. All ate the same spiritual food, the man. All drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was the Messiah. In other words, it wasn't literally the Messiah, it was a picture of the Messiah and a picture of the Messianic redemption. But with most of them, God was not well pleased, for the bodies were scattered in the wilderness. Now, these things became our examples to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. From that time, this is out of the book of Numbers, and this is the Targum Yonatan. Okay, now remember, you have two major Targumim. If you're unfamiliar with the term Targum or Targum, it is an Aramaic paraphrase of the scriptures. We have two major Targumim. There are more than that. There's like 10 or 15 of them. But the Targum Onkelos is primarily on the Torah. And then the Targum Yonatan ben Uziel is primarily on the prophets. However, in this passage, it is from the Targum Yonatan ben Uziel. And I'm going to tell you why this is so important in just a second. And in this case, it is his Targum on a passage out of the Bamidbar, Numbers. Okay. And so the reason that I believe the Targum Yonatan, the Onkelos is later, but the Targum Yonatan is from the 1st century Common Era. Okay. He was a student of Yochanan ben Zakkai, and really amazing. He would have been a contemporary of Paul. All right. So let's share the screen, and we have in Numbers chapter 29. It says, from the time that the well of Mattanah, okay, so we're going to see that term again in just a moment, was given them. It was made again to them brooks that were overflowing and violent. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that the water wasn't just a trickle, but it was coming up and it was overflowing and violent. It went up into the tops of the mountains and went down with them into the valleys. Now, just out of curiosity, I want to see what Numbers 29:19 says, 21:19. And it says, all right, we need to start with verse 16. Now it's going to come up again, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. And from there they went to Beer, which is the well, where the Lord said to Moshe, gather the people together, and I will give them water. Now, do you see that? That's scripture. There's a well, and he's going to give them water. Then Israel sang this song. By the way, the word beer means a well. Then Israel sang this song, spring up, a well, all you who sing to it, the well the leaders sang, dug by the nation's nobles, by the lawgiver with their staves. And from the wilderness, they went to Mattanah. That's where we get the well in Mattanah. And to Nachaleel, from Nachaleel to Bamot, and from Bamot in the valley that is in the country of Moab, in the top of Pisgah, which looks down on the wasteland. Okay, Pisgah is where Moshe dies. All right, so let's go to the next one. This is from the Tosafta. Okay, so the Tosafta, this is out of Sukkah 3:11. It was likewise with the well that was with the children of Israel in the wilderness. Listen, I grew up in Christianity. I read the Bible several times before I actually became a believer. And I never heard anything about a well that was among the children of Israel when they came out of Egypt. Okay. But you can see this certainly was a part of Jewish belief in the 1st century and following. It was likewise with the well that was with the children of Israel in the wilderness. The well was like a rock that was full of holes, like a sieve from which water trickled and arose as from the opening of a flask. The rock well. Now, I submit to you that the rock that Moshe goes and strikes, okay, That's the rock that we're talking about. And the rock well ascended with them to the top of the hills and descended with them into the valleys. Wherever Israel tarried, there it tarried. And look at where it was located, over against the entrance to the Mishkan. Whoa. We have at the entrance to the Holy Temple, water comes out the south side. And guess what? We're going to find out that there is a drawing from the 3rd century of this, and the rock, the well, is on the south side of the Mishkan. How interesting. How was the well constructed? This is out of Bamidbar Rabbah. So this is 1-2. This is the Midrash. Okay. So we have it in the Tosafta. We have it in the Targum. We have it in the Midrash Rabbah. And so Bamidbar Rabbah 1-2. How was the well constructed? It was rock shaped like a kind of beehive. And wherever they journeyed, it rolled along and came with them. When the standards under which the tribes journeyed halted and the tabernacle was set up, that same rock would come and settle down in the court of the tent of meeting. Okay, that's the Mishkan, the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting, and the princes would come and stand upon it and say, "Rise up, O well," and it would rise. Well, we just read that in Bamidbar. That part is literally scripture. Now, when I was a kid, one of the big things, one of the best things about Sunday was the newspaper. And my sister and I would fight over who got the comics, because the comics on that day, and they were included in all the big newspapers, the comics were in color. And generally, we had 2 newspapers that we got, and they both had a cartoon strip called BC. And so BC, it's going to be cavemen. And you have this rock that actually has little legs that walks along with it. And somehow when I read this, I can kind of picture the BC cartoon strip, and all of these things happen. I don't know how it was transported. I don't know if it transported itself by a miracle of God, but that's possible. I mean, I'm not saying that was probable. I'm just saying it's possible. I know this, that on a daily basis, the people in the wilderness saw miracles. Their shoes didn't wear out. That's pretty amazing because they were there 40 years. I go into that region and I'll wear a pair of shoes out in 2 weeks because the terrain is rough, because the sand gets into them and it just eats away, and their clothes didn't wear out. In fact, we believe they didn't lose their strength. It's not that they grew old and died. It's that there was an appointed time for them to die. But in the wilderness, they were in an environment. God had a pillar of fire by day. He had a cloud by night, a pillar of fire by night. He had a cloud by day. He provided a flour for them. He provided quail for them. He provided water for them. And they were in the midst of seeing miracles of God on their right and their left. And yet, God was angry with that generation. And so we can see the miracles of God, and yet we don't see. And we have where the prophets would say, let those that have eyes see, let those that have ears hear. Okay? And so you can be in the midst of a miracle and not even realize it. All right. So, all right. Look at all these references. It's in the Talmud Bavli in Tanit 9a. It's in the Shabbat 35a. That's also the Talmud Bavli. It's in Pirkei Avot, in the Mishnah. The sayings of the fathers, 5:6. It's in the Midrash, Numbers 19:26, which we just read. And we already talked about the Targum, Yonatan ben Uziel. Now, the synagogue at Dura Europos. Now, I have some things added to this, but a depiction of the Israelite camp arranged around the sanctuary is found in a painting from Dura Europos. Each tribe is shown as a tent grouped around the Mishkan, the tabernacle, in front of which is a well with 12 rivers leading from the center into the 12 tents. Okay, so one tent represents a tribe, just like the paths to the sea, that there is a stream of water coming from the well to each of these locations. In the description from the Ezekiel, the water from the temple comes out of the temple and it goes south to the Dead Sea. But I assure you, it also goes north, it goes east, it goes west. Wherever it goes, God is bringing to the earth a new earth. And so in front of the well stands Moshe holding his staff. The well is that of Numbers 21:16 through chapter 18, verse 70. Yet there is an additional aspect. Numbers 21:18 is interpreted to refer to Moshe, who appears as the lawgiver with his staff. From the well of the Mishkan, water symbolic of sanctity flows to the tribes of Israel in 12 streams. Now, this is a new picture. And you see that here is your Mishkan. It's outside the Mishkan. This is Moshe. This is his staff. And we have the 12 streams going. And so I actually counted them. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no one that you can see in that tent, but it's going into the tent. And then you have 6, and you have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. And so this is on the wall of the Duros Europa. This is the synagogue. This synagogue, regrettably, was destroyed by ISIS. But they had gone in and taken extreme pictures of all of this. And this dates from it's the Duro Europa Synagogue. And it was in the 3rd century. There were 2 structures in this town. It's in Syria. And one was a synagogue, one was a Byzantine church. And so it was next to the city wall. And in order to defend against an enemy that was coming, they built a new wall. So here's your wall here, okay? Well, let me do it this way. Here's your wall here, and this is the outside. And they build this synagogue that adjoins the wall, and they build a church. But then they come in and they build a new wall here, and they're going to fill all this in. They're making what we call a broad wall. And sections of the wall did not get destroyed. I don't know what happened to the community, but that wall remained intact. Archaeologists came in the 1930s. They excavated and they found not only in the synagogue, but also the Byzantine church murals on the walls. The one in the synagogue, here, I'm going to give you another picture. Okay. Here's your Mishkan. But look at how the Mishkan is quite different. This is more like the Mishkan at Shiloh. Certainly not the Mishkan that they had in the wilderness. Okay. Now here, the Duro Europa Synagogue, mid-3rd century Common Era. 244 to 245 Common Era is one of the most important archaeological discoveries for understanding Second Temple era Jewish thought in the diaspora. Key features location. The frontier city of Duro Europus in Roman Syria, modern Eastern Syria. Final phase by inscription to 244, modern Eastern Syria. Let's see, 244 Common Era. Buried in sand when the city was fortified, which preserved the paintings almost intact. One of the only ancient synagogues fully decorated with figurative wall paintings, a surprise to earlier scholarship that assumed Jewish art avoided such imagery. Okay, and we're going to see some more pictures as we go along. All right, a very similar idea appears in the Sefer HaBahir, where 12 pipes, each named for one of the tribes of Israel, extend from a central spring and carry the divine effulgence to the people of Israel. This image, panel WB1 in CH Kraling, the synagogue, the excavations at Duro Europus, for the agadic basic of this painting, look at Sukkah 3, 10 through 13, and S. Lieberman, the Tosefta Kifshuta 4, where the 12 pipes preserve as an alternative to the system of 10 Sephirot, also found in the Bahir. Now, so the Bahir is going to be part of the Kabbalah, okay? And so, my goodness. So now we have Midrash, Targum, Talmud, Mishnah, Tosafta, and now we have Kabbalah. Here's your picture. The other one, if you look at this one back here, is a little bit clearer, but it's smaller. Okay. These depict the Akedah. They depict the covenant between the halves. They depict the parting of the sea, just all kinds of things. And it's particularly valuable because it shows how people viewed these things. When you put it with the Midrash, it expands it out. Okay. All right. So here, this is another depiction of the well, the rock. And I assume that this is Moshe, and we have all the tribes. Here's your Mishkan back here. And look at this one. This is the one that you saw before. But you see the streams that are going to each of the camps. And let's see. All right. This is the explanation of the paintings on the wall of the synagogue. Numbers 20, verse 6 and following clarifies that at least in this story, there's indeed a close connection between the Okel Moed, the tent of meeting. Now, the Okel Moed is actually in the Mishkan, and then correspondingly is in Solomon's temple, second temple. It is the room where we have the menorah, we have the Shulchan Lechem Hapanim, the table of the bread of the face, we have the Mizbeach Ketoret, the altar of incense, also called the Mizbeach Zahab, the golden altar. In addition, it appears that there is a connection between the 12 princes, the tribal encampments, and the 12 springs and Exodus 15:27. Whoa, Exodus 15:27. Let me read that. Because Exodus 15:27 So you haven't shared your screen. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, people. Sometimes I forget to clear. All right, let me go back and let you look at these pictures. Okay. I'm not sure how far back I didn't share. But all right, we'll go to here. All right. All right. Let's read this. Numbers 20, verse 6 and following clarifies that, at least in this story, there is indeed a close connection between the Ochel Moed, tent of meeting, in other words, the tabernacle, and the rock from which the water emerged. That's why I'm tying it into the temple in the Messianic redemption. In addition, it appears that there is a connection between the 12 princes, the tribal encampments, and the 12 springs in Exodus 15:27. So we're going to read Exodus 15:27. It says, then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, so they camped there by the waters. Now, I just want to go up. That's verse 27. But I want to read verse 20. In verse 20, the Song of the Sea is the Song of Moshe. Okay? That's the Song of the Sea. But in verse 20, then Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he is thrown into the sea. So Moshe brought Israel from the Red Sea. Then they went into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness, found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Marah. The people murmured against Moshe, saying, what shall we drink? So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. And when he cast into the waters were made sweet. Then he made a statute and an ordinance for them, and there he tested them. And he said, if you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do that what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments, and keep all the statutes, I'll put none of these diseases on you, which I've brought on the Egyptians. For I am the Lord who heals you. Then they came to Elim. There were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees. So they camped there by the waters. Now, I want to make a tie-in between Miriam, her song, and these wells of water, or the one well that has 12 strings. All right. All right. My slides are going to have the same thing that we read. And they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 date palms, and they camped there beside the waters. Now, I just had a thought, and it probably is nothing but a thought. But if you remember, in the rebellion of Korach, we learned something about the staff of Moshe. You remember back we saw before in the staff of Moshe that he did all the miracles with this staff. In the rebellion of Korach, what do? They take up the 12 staffs of the chief princes of each of the tribes. Aaron was the chief prince of the tribe of Levi. And so they take and they put them where? They put them into the Ochel Moed. And the next day, they get up and the staff of Moshe had budded. And what did it bring forth? It brought forth ripe almonds. It was dead and it came alive. Now, my personal belief is that Mount Sinai is Mount Luz in Saudi Arabia. And Luz in Arabic means almond. And I believe that the staff of Moshe, which was also the staff of Aaron, came from that mountain. And I wonder if the sweet tree that he threw in to the water to make it sweet was his rod. Okay. Reason I'm curious about that. I'm going to do this and we're going to go to break. But let's go back over here. All right. Here, this is supposed to be Moshe's rod that he's putting it into the water. And I'm just wondering, I'm not saying that's what this is. I'm just saying it's a thought. Okay. All right. Let me get back to my slides, and just so that when we come back, we are ready to go. Okay. We're going to stop for about 10 or 15 minutes and take a break, and we'll be back shortly.
Shalom, mi nombre es Gabriel Gallegos. Saludos a todos aquellos seguidores de Hacktivac Ministries, en especial a nuestra comunidad latina. El día de hoy queremos compartir con ustedes uno de los artículos más impresionantes que podemos tener en nuestra tienda virtual. Te invitamos a que te quedes y a conocer más del modelo tridimensional del templo. Les presento el nuevo modelo del templo. Una de las cosas adicionales que se han agregado en esta impresión es esta base donde está de una manera inclinada, 45 grados. ¿Para qué? Para que pueda enseñarse mejor a nuestra audiencia. O si usted, al igual que a mí, le gusta ponerlo de la manera tradicional y ponerlo en una superficie plana, pues también puedo hacerlo. De esta manera usted lo puede poner en su oficina o en su lugar de estudio o en su lugar de reunión. ¿Para qué? Para que la gente pueda admirar la gran maravilla de lo que se ha podido llegar a hacer. Ahora les voy a invitar a que me sigan acompañando para mirar las siguientes adiciones que se le han agregado a este nuevo modelo. Uno de los nuevos aspectos de este nuevo modelo tridimensional son los colores que se han añadido, como el color oro, el color blanco, un café y un café un poquito más claro. Podemos mirar el color blanco en los 15 escalones que están en el atrio de las mujeres, como también en las 4 lámparas. Podemos mirar el color blanco en el misbeach, en el altar, como también en los 2 escalones que están entre el ulam y el altar. Podemos encontrar este color blanco también en estos pequeños mikvaot o también baños de inmersión que se han añadido. También podemos apreciar en el Mizbeach, el altar, se agregaron a color las 3 fogatas y en el centro podemos encontrar de color café más claro las cenizas del altar. Otro de los buenos beneficios de este modelo es de que los edificios adicionales, el techo puede ser removido. En el edificio sureste podemos mirar cómo el área donde el Sanedrín se reunía para hacer sus juicios, y también se ha agregado un color azul en donde está el lavacro para así poder distinguir las diferentes áreas. Les agradecemos mucho a cada uno de ustedes, especialmente a la comunidad latina, por estarnos acompañando. Pueden ir a Jerusalem Temple Studies y buscar la opción tienda o store en inglés y luego buscar modelos del templo y ahí podrán obtener el suyo. Bendiciones y gracias por su apoyo. Shalom.
People, I've got a bunch of apologies to make. Number one, for not sharing my screen a while ago. Didn't realize. And then secondly, apparently I shared the wrong screen. It went to my projector rather than the video. So I think that earlier I talked about the BC cartoon strip. That I think technology-wise, that's about where I belong, is back in the days of the caveman. Um, I do have um, an announcement to make. I want to say thank you. We're trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. If we do that, there's going to be several things that will be an advantage for us. And we now have 612, so we're moving up pretty fast. And so I do want to thank you. Now, I think tonight has the potential for a tremendous amount of questions. I know some of you have heard about this, but where I've taught it in the past, I haven't so much tied it into what happened before is going to happen again. And I think that it was a literal, massive miracle of God providing the water for them in the wilderness. It brought life. And I think that same constant message is what we see in the water that comes from the temple, and wherever it goes, we have reached the promise that it's the Messianic kingdom. So if you have questions, if you have comments, please share them with us, okay? All right. Let me get my slides ready, and we'll get started. All right. Now, this is from Shemot, or Exodus 17. And it says, and all the congregation of the sons of Israel journeyed by stages from the wilderness of Sin, according to the command of the Lord. This was last week's ending part of the teaching, and camped at Rephidim. Now, remember, Rephidim comes from Rapha, which means to be lax. There was no water for the people to drink. Therefore, the people quarreled with Moshe and said, give us water that we may drink. And Moshe said to them, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord? Okay. So in our personal walk, when we have challenges, when we have where somebody's sick in our family, I mean, could be major sickness, like what Grayson Jeffords is going through. The way we have deaths, like what Justin Hutz is going through, where we have financial, I don't know how I'm going to pay this bill. And there are more bills coming in. And every time I turn around, it's going out much faster than it's coming in. And one of the things that we're told about King Asa, God did great miracles for him. God defeated enemies right and left. And he had an enemy coming, and he went out, and he didn't go to God. He went out and he was going to handle it himself. He made an ally, and it turned into a disaster. He got sick, and he went to the doctors, and he didn't call on God. Now, the passage is not saying don't call on the doctors, okay? The passage is saying when you call on the doctors, you need to go to God. You need to go to God, because if you don't go to God, you're going to end up like the people that were in this passage. You're murmuring, you're complaining, You're not remembering everything that God has done. Now, when somebody turns to Hashem, and the first thing I tell them is you need to keep a record of the things that God does for you. I call it the track record. Because when things get hard, you need to remember how God delivered you. Okay. You need to have where that you might be worried, you might be nervous. Okay. That's okay. That's part of our normal reaction. But you should be in expectation of the deliverance of God. Okay. And you should be crying out to God. As you know, this doesn't mean, oh, I just call out to God. I don't go and do this that would help my finances or help my situation or whatever. Okay. To me, that's God leading you to do those things. Okay. And so you need to take care of things, but you need to be where you know your God is God and that God it will deliver you. Okay. All right. All right. So it goes on. Let's read a little bit more here. So, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord? But the people thirsted there for water, and they grumbled against Moshe and said, why now have you brought us up from Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? Now, you have to remember that they make it from Egypt to Mount Sinai in 50 days, actually 47. So we're talking a matter of less than 2 months. Okay. We're talking 7 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And you have, my goodness, look at all the miracles he did. He parted the sea. I mean, that pillar of fire, the cloud by day, the mind, all these things. And you would think, those people must have really been faithless. Well, I think it's a very accurate picture of the majority of the way that we react ourselves. And I believe that God is testing us when he allows things to be hard. He allows things to come against us. Hosea 5:15, one of my favorite verses. It says, in their affliction, they will seek me early. And the next verse, chapter 6, verse 1, come and let us return to the Lord. For he has bound us up. He will heal us. And he goes forth. Okay, so, all right. Why now have you brought us up from Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? So Moshe cried out to the Lord, saying, what shall I do to this people? A little more, and they will stone me. And the Lord said to Moshe, pass before the people and take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand your staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb. Horeb's another name for Mount Sinai. And you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it. People may drink. And Moshe did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. He named the place Massah and Meribah because of the quarrel of the sons of Israel, and because they tested the Lord, saying, is the Lord among us or not? Then the sons of Israel, the whole congregation, came to the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and the people stayed at Kadesh. Now, Miriam died there and was buried there. There was no water for the congregation, and they assembled themselves against Moshe and Aaron. The people thus contended with Moshe and spoke, saying, if only we had perished when our brothers perished before the Lord. It's very interesting. You notice that this is bottom bar Numbers 20. And we're told by Josephus that the first red heifer was when Miriam died. You know that chapter 19 of Bamidbar is the red heifer. This is chapter 20 where she dies. I believe that the place that they were at is in modern day Jordan. That's where I believe Kadesh Barnea was. I believe that Kadesh Barnea is not a singular camping place, but it is rather a territory, okay, a large area. And I believe that it is in southern Jordan. It's what's called Wadi Rum. I was in Jordan, and I asked the question of my guide that I had. His name was Firas, and he didn't know where the name came from. Well, I came back and I researched it, and it comes from Ir-Am. Ir means city, and Am means people, city of the people. And it actually, that is a term that is used in the book of Deborah, where it's telling a recount of the Exodus from Egypt. And it says the city of the people in the wilderness of Edom, on the border of Edom. And I believe that's Wadi Rum. It's like bigger than most counties. Some of the counties, maybe in Texas, are super gigantic, but it's almost the size of, say, some of our smaller states. It's gigantic, it's huge. And so where it says they were 40 years at Kadesh Barnea in the book of I believe it's in Bamidbar, it gives the various camping places. Now, I believe that Miriam was buried on top of Jebel Rum. Jebel Rum, Jebel means mountain, and Jebel Rum is the highest mountain in Wadi Rum. Now, this is just my opinion. It's just a theory. But we have, when Aaron dies, it's going to be the mountain north of Petra. And Josephus gives us the location. The Arabs, the Muslims, have a shrine on top for the tomb of Aaron. And it's Mount Hor. It's the highest mountain in that region. When Moshe dies, he dies on one of the peaks. I'm trying to think of the name of the mountain. I know the mountain very well, but he dies on the peak called Pisgah. Okay, it's the highest mountain in that area. And so just for me, whenever I read a story, I like to visualize it. Now, a lot of times I have to go back and correct my vision as I learn more. But here, we'll go back to our slides and we'll read this. All right, I'm going to read this one more time. Then the sons of Israel, the whole congregation, came to the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and the people stayed at Kadesh. Now Miriam died there and was buried there. There was no water for the congregation, and they assembled themselves against Moshe and Aaron. The people thus contended with Moshe and spoke, saying, "If only we had perished when our brothers perished before the Lord." And why then have you brought the Lord's assembly into the wilderness for us and our beasts to die here? Why have you made us come up from Egypt to bring us to this wretched place? It is not a place of grain or figs or vines or pomegranates, nor is there water to drink. Then Moshe and Aaron came in from the presence of the assembly to the doorway of the tent of meeting. And fell on their faces. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to them. And the Lord spoke to Moshe, saying, "Take the rod, and you and your brother Aaron assemble the congregation and speak to the rock before their eyes, that it may yield its water. You shall thus break bring forth water for them out of the rock, and let the congregation and their beasts drink. So Moshe took the rod from before the Lord, just as he had commanded him. And Moshe and Aaron gathered the assembly before the rock. And he said to them, listen now, you rebels. Shall we bring forth water for you out of this rock? Then Moshe lifted up his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod. And water came forth abundantly, and the congregation and the beasts drank. Bad move on the part of Moshe. From there, they continued to beer. That is the well where the Lord said to Moshe, assemble the people that I may give them water. Then Israel sang this song, spring up, O well, sing to it, the well, which the leaders sank, which the nobles of the people dug, with the scepter and with their staffs. And from the wilderness they continued to Mattanah, we read this earlier, and from Mattanah to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel to Bamot, and from Bamot to the valley that is in the land of Moab, at the top of Pisgah, which overlooks the wasteland. Okay, so it's giving you the journey. All right, he divided the sea. This is from the Psalms, Psalm 78, verse 13 to 15. He divided the sea and caused them to pass through. And he made the waters stand up like a heap. Then he led them with the cloud by day and all the night with a light of fire. He split the rocks in the wilderness and gave them abundant drink like the ocean depths. He brought forth streams, this Psalm 76, verse 16 through 18. He brought forth streams also from the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers. Yet they still continued to sin against him, to rebel against the Most High in the desert. And in their hearts, they put God to the test by asking food according to their desire. Then they spoke against God. They said, can God prepare a table in the wilderness? Behold, he struck the rock so that waters gushed out and streams were overflowing. Can he give bread also? Will he provide meat for his people? Therefore the Lord heard and was full of wrath, and a fire was kindled against Yaakov, and anger also mounted against Israel. He opened the rock and water flowed out. It ran into dry places like a river. For he remembered his holy word with Abraham his servant. This is Psalm 105. So before we were in Psalm 78. He opened the rock, water flowed out. It ran into dry places like a river. For he remembered his holy word with Abraham his servant. And then God spoke unto him. This is a pseudo-philo, okay? Well, now we have the scripture. We have the Targum. We have the Talmud Bavli. We have the Mishnah. We have the Tosafta. We have the Midrash Rabbah. Now we have Philo, okay? Philo was an Egyptian Jew. He was observant, but from what we believe, he was a philosopher and was also influenced by some of the Greek culture and the Greek philosophy. And then God spoke to him justice and judgments and kept him by him 40 days and 40 nights. And there did he command him many things and showed him the tree of life, whereof he cut and took and put it into Marah. Oh, this is, and the water of Marah was made sweet and followed them in the desert 40 years. And went up into the hills with them and came down into the plain. This is the Targum Yonatan on Bamidbar 21, 17 through 18. And behold, therefore Israel sang praise in that song at the time when the well which was given to them by the merit of Miriam, after he had been hidden, returned. O well, rise, O well. They were singing to it, and it rose, the well which the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the leaders, dug from of old. The chiefs of the people, Moshe and Aaron, the scribes of Israel, dug it. They measured it out with their shafts. And from the time of the desert sojourn, it was given to them as a gift. And because it, meaning the well, was given to them as a gift, it turned to ascend the high mountains with them. And from the high mountains, it descended with them to the valleys, going around the entire camp of Israel and giving them drink, each and every one of them, at the door of the door of his tent. And from the high mountains it descended with them to the deep valleys and disappeared from them at the borders of the Moabites, at the top of the height, which is oriented in the direction of Yeshimon, because they have neglected the words of the law. This is Tosefta Sukkah 3:3. All the waters created at the creation are destined to go forth from the mouth of this little flask. And so the well, which was with the Israelites in the wilderness, was a rock full of compartments, surging and gurgling upward, as from the mouth of this little flask, rising with them up onto the mountains and going down with them into the valleys. Wherever the Israelites would encamp, and make camp with them on a high place opposite the entry of the tent of meeting. The princes of Israel come and surround it with their staffs, and they sing a song concerning it. Spring up, O well, sing to it, the well which the princes dug, which the nobles of the peoples dealt with the scepter and with their staves. Numbers 21:17-18. And they well upward like a pillar on high, and each one of the princes draws water with his staff, each one for his tribe, each one for his family, as it is said, the well which the princes dug. And from Matanat, and we're reading out of the Tosafta again, from Matanat to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel to Bamot, and from Bamot to the valley lying in the region of Moab by the top of Pisgah, which looks down upon the desert. Numbers 21:19-20. This surrounds the entire camp of Israel and provides water for the whole desert, as it is said, which looks down upon the desert. And this is turned into many streams, as it is said. The streams overflow. Psalm 78:20. They sit in small boats and come together, as said. It flowed through the desert like a river. Psalms 105:41. These are the passages we just read. He who goes up on the right goes up on the right. And he who goes up on the left goes up on the left. So the water which flows forth from it is made into a great river and flows into the great sea. Oh. Now, that passage seems to come from Yehezkel 47. And they derive from it all necessary goods, as it is said, for the Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He knows you're going through this great wilderness. These 40 years, the Lord your God has been with you. You have lacked nothing. Deuteronomy 2:7. And that's the end of this. So I want to reiterate. I believe that, number one, there were great miracles that daily occurred in the journey from Mount Sinai, from the sea to Mount Sinai. I believe that there were daily miracles that occurred for the 40 years in the wilderness. I believe there were miracles that occurred on the journey from Kadesh Barnea to coming in the land. I think these parallel the miracles that will occur as Messiah comes. I think that the water coming out from the temple comes right don't know where my good stick is, but it comes from right over here. Okay. Wait, let me get here. Yeah, right here. It comes and it goes out and it goes through a gate right here. Okay. This is the water gate. And then it goes down, it turns. This is the south, but it goes east this way and it gets into the Kidron and it flows down the Kidron. But I believe that just like that, there were 12 streams, there's going to be many streams. And it's going to bring health and healing to the world. It's going to bring health and healing to the people. I believe that God is giving, and God gave in the past. He gave us spiritual food. He gave us spiritual water. Now, when a person has problems, I don't care what your problems are, it's the time you need to draw close to God. As much as your body might need medicines, it might need vitamins, it might need minerals, it also needs a spiritual awareness of God. God tests us, and God provided for them, but he was displeased with that generation, that they could not see the miracles that were among them. And they reverted back to their mumblings, their murmurs, their animosity. Okay? May it be his will that we do better. Okay? I'm going to go to questions now. All right. Again, let me mention that it really helps us if you hit the like button, the share button, the follow us button, the subscribe button. Okay. And all right. Tim Smalley. Very good to see you again, Tim. All right. Virginia Anderson. Shalom, everyone from Redlands, California. So thankful to be here. Requesting prayer for my husband, Randy. Thank you for letting us know. Had scheduled knee replacement surgery today, so praying for successful and quick recovery. Thank you. And Virginia, can you give us his mother's name? Okay, if you can just type it in here so that we can pray it in the Amidah too. All right, Scott Paddock. Scott, we think about you and Jane all the time. We've got your father's woodwork up in our kitchen. I had the flashlights by my bed, and I'm going to use the book bag tomorrow. Okay, so many things and so many good memories. Victor Schultz, and Victor, he's the one that called and said, "Hey, I wasn't sharing my screen." Then he called and said, "Hey, you clicked the wrong button. You're playing you've got the projector, not the video." And thank you, Victor. And his this is also Victor, Yeshiva del Templo. All right. Deb Galecta Heath from Wisconsin, up in Beth Emanuel, I believe. Patty Serato, Shalom family, in Virginia Anderson. This is the same that we had. Let's see. Okay, Jeff Fosberg, one of the greatest people I know, from East Lansing, Michigan. And Jeff, I'm supposed to go to Michigan in September. I hope to see you then, and maybe the Smallies too. Shalom from Greenwood, Arkansas, Richard Setzinger. And Richard, I do have to get your book back to you. We're actually starting where we're studying Tahara to train up men to be able to do the ritual washings that occur when one has passed. So thank you for sending that to me, and I will get that back to you. Mike Fincher from Montana. And Mike, I'm always pleased to see you. Warren Baker. Wow. Warren Baker from Alabama. And he has his son is off and on. I think we had where everyone else had the good sound, so I'm guessing it was with your computer. Oh, Rico's on. Hey, Rico. I was thought about giving you a call this morning and I ran out of time. I'll try to call you tomorrow. Mike Venture again. Gabrielle from Dallas. And Barb DeCamp, okay, and her husband Guy, and talked to him earlier. This is Justin's aunt. Okay, be praying for Barb. She has uh, several different types of cancer. Okay, so please be praying for her. Oh, yeah, here was my verse from Psalm 136. To him who divided the sea into parts. Thank you. Psalm 136, verse 13. Scott Joy is great in finding the passages. Yeah, he divided into parts, and the commentators, it does not say that he made a path for each of the tribe or that he made paths to the sea. It says he divided into parts. So commentators came back and said they believe that he made a path for each of the 12 tribes. Okay, each tribe had a path. And of course, this would expedite getting Israel across the sea. And so it's not a fast thing to move a couple million people. Okay. All right. Susan Natero. Shabbat Shalom, Joe, all the way from Bakersfield, California. Well, I'll say Shavua Tov. It's a good week. All right. And Shalom from Pennsylvania, dear Nearhood. I'm not sure who that is, but I'm very glad you're here. All right. This is Gabrielle Shalom from the beautiful state of Texas. All right. Los del Mesa. Shalom family. And shalom to you. And Abidel from Querétaro. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Mexico. And Dan Solis from Plano, Texas. And Dan, always good to see you. Okay. Now, Denechud wrote, I never heard the well named the rock with Israel. It is the rock that follows them. It's called Miriam's well. Okay. And if you go to Jewish sources, it's everywhere. You just see it in all over the place. It's a major thing in Jewish writings. When I first realized this, I said, "My goodness, you know, I've been down in that region. I haven't been to Mount Sinai. I've never been into Saudi Arabia, but I've been in southern Jordan. I've been to Petra, to Wadi Rum. I've been in the Arabah. I've actually been in the Sinai, and my goodness, I it shocked me that I hadn't thought, where's the water? You got to have water if you're going to live in this environment. God had provided everything else. And so when I saw about the well of Miriam, I said, wow, this is fascinating. And, I believe that that's exactly what happened. I don't understand all the mechanics of how the rock moved or if they carried it, but I believe that God did bring forth water from the rock. Now, in that one of those last passages we read, God said, speak to the rock, to Moshe, and he got angry and he struck the rock twice. And that's why he was not allowed to go in to across the Jordan and go in to the into the promised land. Okay. And it was a very major thing. He rebelled. He did exactly what the people were doing. He got frustrated with them. You might have a situation that somebody is, you just can't stand to be around them. You can't stand to be around them. My advice is do your best to not put yourself in their path. Okay. But if circumstances are going to require, then never take your eyes off God. Okay. If it's a bad situation and harm could come your way, be ready. Respond if it's necessary. But don't take your eyes off God. You have to keep God in essential focus, whatever you're doing, whatever's happening. And the time that you want to be, it's great to be at the mountaintop, but that is the time that you become vulnerable because you think, I'm great. Look how God favors me and I'm great. Nothing's going to happen. And lo and behold, you go down. When my daughter Yael, we were in Israel on our last trip. This is 2 weeks before our heart stopped. On December 25th, don't make any association with Christmas, okay? We were in a hotel in Jerusalem. Debbie was asleep on one side. Yael was still awake, looking at her computer on the other side. I was sitting up in the bed, and I was thinking to myself, things can't get any better than this. And it was true. It was true. And we came home, she got sick, and we had everything happen. The one thing that during that episode, the one thing that sustained us was Debbie and I constantly thinking about God. I mean, the Siddur was in our hand. We, all our conversation was centered on God. And so, when you have a situation, you've got to have where you connect with God, okay? No matter how bad it is. All right. All right. So, let's see. All right. Jennifer Lindsay, sad it was destroyed, glad it was photographed heavily. And you might, look up some things on it and see some of the illustrations and some of the things. Our good friend Margot and Howard Dahl, shalom. Shalom to both of you. Tennessee. All right. Los del Messias, a good friend, Edgar Ramos, told me about this channel. Is awesome. Well, we love Edgar. I'm telling you, he's great. He's one of the best teachers too. Really good. Okay. All right. Gail Thomas from Georgia. And Gail, you were just a joy to have on the trip with us to Israel. All right. Again, we have how could we appreciate the importance of this pain so we should have a good teacher to explain about it? Well, I don't know about being the good teacher so much, but it is a fascinating topic, and I think there are spiritual messages. All right. Let's see. All right. During the hood, I first saw Joe about 39 years ago when he put out a tape about the crown sacrifice. Now again, found him here on YouTube. Good gems he shared. Thank you. The crown sacrifice, what she's referring to, is the Pesach. Is roasted in oven, the Passover offering, and they took the entrails out and they wrapped them around the head of the lamb. It's called the helmeted offering. It was called the crowned offering, but it is a very interesting thing. Okay, Janet Baxter Meadows. Wow. I mean, this lady is a giant in the kingdom of God. Shalom from Georgia. Kathy Murray. Kathy, give us an update. You probably have. I just haven't looked. Um, but y'all had several situations going on. I know that Don's mother has been one of them. Okay, so we're praying. All right. Brenda Kreitz from Kansas. By the way, I'm coming to Kansas City in August, I believe. Darren Anthony, Shalom from New York City. Did Targums influence Mishnaic development in any way? From what I understand, some of the Judean Aramaic is also in Mishnah. Wondering what other items are shared of it, or if it's just language. Actually, the Mishnah, I'm sure that there are some loan words from Aramaic, but the Mishnah is it's Hebrew, and we call it Mishnaic Hebrew. It's different from the Hebrew that was spoken in the first temple. Excuse me. It would be maybe 100 years after the Hebrew, after the time the temple was destroyed. Now, if I can spot a book, I want to show it to you. I don't know. I don't want to get up and go, but let me show you this. This is the Koren Talmud Bavli, and it's translated by Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. Okay, so it's called the Steinsaltz Talmud. Okay, and of course, this is one volume of about 30, 35 volumes. Rabbi Steinsaltz was a legend. He died a few years ago. He was the first president of the Sanhedrin informing. Tremendous rabbi. And he wrote a book which is called A Guide to the Talmud. It is a resource book, and he goes into the various communities, how the Aramaic came in. And it's tremendous. You find that Hebrew actually was the prime language all through the first century, Common Era, and going into the second century, the Aramaic began to take over as we ended the second century. Part of the Tosafta is in Aramaic. Most of the Talmud is in Aramaic. Okay, it uses the same block letters, and a person that reads Hebrew does not mean that they can read Aramaic. Okay, they're two different languages, even though they are related. But you might have some references of some Mishnah passages that are in Aramaic. I would certainly love to see them. Another question that's off topic. Okay. Another question that's off topic. If it's okay if you don't answer. You mentioned Amalekites on the journey from Egypt. I've heard Palestinians equated to modern day Amalekites. I understand it's complicated, however. I'm extremely disturbed by settler violence against them. I can't see God supporting this. What are your thoughts on this? Well, first off, the term Amalekite is used first for the literal people that descended from Esau. Okay, they were a people that we see, for instance, in chapter 17 of Shemot. We see Saul was commanded to go out and destroy them. And we have the story of Agag, how he spared him. We see the Amalekites. David goes and he attacks the Amalekites who attacked his village. So that's the literal people. But it is also used for any enemy of the children of Israel. Okay, the Germans, for instance, after World War II, were often called the Amalekites. The Palestinians have been called the Amalekites because of episodes like the October 7th massacre. Now, this sentence, I'm extremely disturbed by settler violence against them. I can't see God supporting this. What are your thoughts on this? Now, I'm going to give a source, okay? And these guys live in Judea, Samaria. They're called the Israel guys. They're with Tommy Waller. One's his son, one's his son-in-law. But they give what I believe is very, very good reporting. And a lot that goes into the press about the violence against the Palestinians, I think is frequently distorted. I don't want to speak because I'm not ignoring the question. I just don't feel that I'm informed enough to know of incidents that were not expanded. Okay, and so violence. I think I'm against the Palestinian violence. I would be against attacks, not self-defense, but attacks where it would be against Arab communities just for the sake of attacking. Okay. When it comes to defending yourself, I believe very definitely in that. Okay. But I would check with the Israel guys, and I think that they give good, honest reporting. They're on the scene, and I think that they can give some clear information on what's going on. Okay. Okay, can you speak on John 7:37? The word flowing, yet it refers to wells flowing from the hearer and receiver. I think that we have misunderstood Yochanan 7:37. First off, this is during the festival of Sukkot. Sukkot, if you don't know it by that name, it's called booths or tabernacles. Booths is a much better translation than tabernacles. But there is a ceremony that's called the water pouring ceremony. Okay. In Hebrew, it's called the Beit Ha. Give me a second. The Beit HaShoeva, and it's done at the morning Tamid. Wrong button. Well, I'll get to it eventually. Okay. This is the tractate. This is from the Temple Institute. It's called Sukkah. And it's on these are parts of the water pouring ceremony. Okay, the Beit HaShoeva. And you have a procession around the altar with the Kohanim, only Kohanim, and They're carrying their lulavim as they go around. They go around one time per day, except for the seventh day when they go 7 times around. And let me see. Water and wine are poured over the altar. Here they're drawing the water at the Shiloh pool for the water pouring ceremony. And then the water and the wine are poured on the southwestern corner of the altar. Okay. And this is considered the greatest ceremony of the temple. And that's in the morning. Then when it gets dark, that takes place here in the upper courtyard around the altar. In the evening, once it's dark, they go down and they have what's called the Simchat Beit HaShoeva, the rejoicing of the water pouring. Now, reason I'm saying this is because Yochanan chapter 7, verse 37, we believe takes place during that ceremony. And so it's also on Hoshana Rabbah, the great day of the festival. That's the day that they circle the altar 7 times. On the last day, that great day of the festival, Yeshua stood and cried out, saying, "If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scripture has said," okay, out of his belly, out of his heart, okay, some translations say out of his belly, will flow rivers of living water. And I'm glad you brought this up, because people read that and think it's coming out of our heart or our belly, that the water's coming out. It doesn't say that. What it says, out of his heart, meaning Hashem. What it's referring to is literally what we've been talking about tonight. The water coming out from the temple that goes out as a stream, and it becomes wider, it becomes deeper. It goes, and wherever it goes, it heals. And that relates to the well of Miriam, which came out and brought life to the people where there was nothing but death. And so let me make sure that I addressed what you asked. Can you speak on John 7:37, the water flowing, yet it refers to the wells flowing from the hearer and receiver. And so but out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. And then I will go to the next verse. But this he spoke concerning the Spirit, whom those believing in him would receive, for the Holy Spirit was not yet, because Yeshua was not yet glorified. And so the water is symbolic of the Spirit, and it's symbolic of life. Okay, now, by the way, water is essential. And one of the things, I'm going to show a set of books. These you'll have to buy as used books, but it's tremendous. I don't know if you can see the title. It says The Art of Warfare in Biblical Lands. There's 2 volumes. Okay, so here's the second volume. You can see mine's kind of beat up. It's by Professor Igal Yadin. Okay, so The Art of Warfare in Biblical Lands. Now, one of the things, first off, Igal Yadin was a master archaeologist. He excavated Masada. He excavated Megiddo. He excavated many Gezer, many places. And in his book, what he brings out is that the first thing you have to have for any city, any village, is water, and that they go to great lengths to get water. But they also have to protect that water. So they will build a city to where that the wall encompasses the well. I've been to places like Hazor that you have to go down, and Megiddo, you have to go way down in order to draw the water. And Megiddo, they have a tunnel that goes from a spring that brings it into the well, and they hid the spring because they don't want the enemy to get to it. Plus, if the enemy gets to it, then they can come up that well or that tunnel, and then they have entry into the city. Why am I saying this? Right now, there is a lot of bad information that's coming out about everything, politics, uh, the people watching on their phone getting what looks real, has maybe a bit of truth, but it has a little lie embedded in it. The water you drink needs to be pure water, needs to be good water. It needs to be water that is true, it's accurate, and will bring life, not bring death. Okay. So I think that, water is a great topic to talk about from the scripture. All right. Let's see what else we have. Mary Beth Chaudhry. All right. Shalom from Alabama. We received rain here on the farm after about a month of drought. Water is important. I couldn't agree with you more. She and her husband are great people. Great. Things that they have done are just amazing. This is the YouTube that Victor has put together. Here's the Israel guy. Yeah, they're great. I know these guys. They interviewed me one time. I know Tommy Waller, and the things that they do are tremendous. And I think their reporting is first rate. Okay, everyone, I want to thank you for your comments, for your questions. Um, uh, I love this particular study because I think that it's an area that there's so many things that you can just tie together, not only in the exodus out of Egypt, but in everyday life, and looking forward to the Messiah and the things that are prophesied. We have a passage that if you go to a synagogue, the passage is going to be done in every Torah service. It's Kimitzion Teitzei Torah Udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. The word of the Lord will go forth from Jerusalem, and the Torah from Mount Zion. I said it backwards. The Torah will go forth from Jerusalem, and the word of the Lord from, at any rate, it's easier in Hebrew. But we look forward to the time that the Torah will be here in its fullness. We reach the promises, the fullness of the promises. Till then, we're journeying in the wilderness. Till then, we're going to have testings and trials and so forth. Just keep your eyes on God. Okay? Shalom, shalom.
Mi nombre es Gabriel Gallegos. Saludos a todos aquellos seguidores de Hacktivac Ministries, en especial a nuestra comunidad latina. El día de hoy queremos compartir con ustedes uno de los artículos más impresionantes que podemos tener en nuestra tienda virtual. Te invitamos a que te quedes y a conocer más del modelo tridimensional del templo. Les presento el nuevo modelo del templo. Una de las cosas adicionales que se han agregado en esta impresión es esta base donde está de una manera inclinada de 45 grados. ¿Para qué? Para que pueda enseñarse mejor a nuestra audiencia. O si usted, al igual que a mí, le gusta ponerlo de la manera tradicional y ponerlo en una superficie plana, pues también puedo hacerlo. De esta manera usted lo puede poner en su oficina o en su lugar de estudio o en su lugar de reunión. ¿Para qué? Para que la gente pueda admirar la gran maravilla de lo que se ha podido llegar a hacer. Ahora les voy a invitar a que me sigan acompañando para mirar las siguientes adiciones que se le han agregado a este nuevo modelo. Uno de los nuevos aspectos de este nuevo modelo tridimensional son los colores que se han añadido, como el color oro, el color blanco, un café y un café un poquito más claro. Podemos mirar el color blanco en los 15 escalones que están en el atrio de las mujeres, como también en las 4 lámparas. Podemos mirar el color blanco en el misbeach, en el altar, como también en los 2 escalones que están entre el ulam y el altar. Podemos encontrar este color blanco también en estos pequeños mikvaot o también baños de inmersión que se han añadido. También podemos apreciar en el misbeach, el altar, se agregaron a color las 3 fogatas y en el centro podemos encontrar de color café más claro las cenizas del altar. Otro de los buenos beneficios de este modelo es de que los edificios adicionales, el techo puede ser removido. En el edificio sureste podemos mirar cómo el área donde el Sanedrín se reunía para hacer sus juicios, y también se ha agregado un color azul en donde está el lavacro, para así poder distinguir las diferentes áreas. Les agradecemos mucho a cada uno de ustedes, especialmente a la comunidad latina, por estarnos acompañando. Pueden ir a Jerusalem Temple Studies y buscar la opción tienda o store en inglés y luego buscar modelos del templo y ahí podrán obtener el suyo. Bendiciones y gracias por su apoyo. Shalom. nombre es Gabriel Gallegos. Saludos a todos aquellos seguidores de Hacktivac Ministries, en especial a nuestra comunidad latina. El día de hoy queremos compartir con ustedes uno de los artículos más impresionantes que podemos tener en nuestra tienda virtual. Te invitamos a que te quedes y a conocer más del modelo tridimensional del templo. Les presento el nuevo modelo del templo. Una de las cosas adicionales que se han agregado en esta impresión es esta base donde está de una manera inclinada de 45 grados. ¿Para qué? Para que pueda enseñarse mejor a nuestra audiencia. O si usted, al igual que a mí, le gusta ponerlo de la manera tradicional y ponerlo en una superficie plana, pues también puedo hacerlo. De esta manera usted lo puede poner en su oficina o en su lugar de estudio o en su lugar de reunión. ¿Para qué? Para que la gente pueda admirar la gran maravilla de lo que se ha podido llegar a hacer. Ahora les voy a invitar a que me sigan acompañando para mirar las siguientes adiciones que se le han agregado a este nuevo modelo. Uno de los nuevos aspectos de este nuevo modelo tridimensional son los colores que se han añadido, como el color oro, el color blanco, un café y un café un poquito más claro. Podemos mirar el color blanco en los 15 escalones que están en el atrio de las mujeres, como también en las 4 lámparas. Podemos mirar el color blanco en el misbeaj, en el altar, como también en los 2 escalones que están entre el ulam y el altar. Podemos encontrar este color blanco también en estos pequeños o también baños de inmersión